Hey, everybody. Before we get started, a quick note. Today's episode includes discussion of sexual development, consent, body autonomy, and online safety. We'll be sharing real examples and strategies that may not be appropriate for all developmental stages. If you have little ears nearby, please consider listening privately or using headphones. This episode is designed for parents, grandparents, caregivers, family members, teachers, really anyone who is human and cares about raising safe, confident kids. Our goal is to support adults in having age-appropriate conversations, not to expose children to content before they're ready. Okay, let's get started.
At my daughter's school, she has some friends, and when I enter the classroom, they'll run up to me and put their arms out, and even when they look like they are coming at me for a hug, I still say, "Oh, are you wanting a hug?"
Ooh, love that.
Right? And so I will give them a hug. Or when we're leaving a family's house or we're leaving an event or something, I will offer my children the choice. Do you want to give them a hug goodbye?
Oh.
Do you want to give them a high five goodbye?
Yeah.
I'm not going to force my child against their consent, right? Without their consent, to go and hug everybody in the room before we leave.
Oof. How many times I think about as a kid, go hug your grandma goodbye.
Right.
Go kiss so-and-so on the cheek or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to kind of shame that either, right? I grew up that way. And
Sure.
I do encourage my children to go and say goodbye to their grandmother, or go and say goodbye to their aunt whenever we're leaving. And if my kid says, "I don't want to today," I'm going to respect that. I'm going to honor that.
I'm Dr. Jess Hayden, and this is Simply Heard, The Space Between, a podcast produced by Simply Centered Psychological Services in Raleigh, North Carolina. Last episode, we got honest about sex education with Dr. Meagan Padro, licensed psychologist. She surveyed college students, young adults who were only a few years out of high school, and what they told her was eye-opening. Most of them were dissatisfied with their sex education, and many didn't know basic information about their bodies, consent, or how to keep themselves safe. So today, we're picking up right there. I kind of left you with a cliffhanger and a little bit of a teaser. If you haven't listened to part 1, go back when you can. It sets the foundation. If you just want to start here, I'll give you the quick recap. We talked about Megan's research in sex education, what kids actually learn, what they don't, and why naming body parts correctly is one of the simplest, most protective things we can do as parents. In this episode, we'll teach about why consent is so important, how to talk about bodies without shame, and how to keep kids safe in a world full of screens, selfies, and social pressure. We'll talk about sexting, social media, and digital mistakes. Not to frighten you, but to give you a roadmap. This isn't about sex. It's about safety, autonomy, and communication. So buckle up and let's get back to it. I love how we can offer kids a choice here, that they get a chance to decide, about how they want to say goodbye to someone without it being forced on them or without feeling pressured to do so. And I also want to kind of call out the elephant in the room, and that is that I think that it's also important for us to teach kids respect and how to be polite. So how do you encourage your kids to do the quote unquote polite thing?
I might say, "Would you like to choose a high five instead?" And kind of offer them an alternative. But if they're already pushing back, saying "I don't want to say goodbye to grandma today," it's okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. I was just thinking about all the times when, even parents and their kids, right? Parents might come up to their kids and go "Come give me a hug." And your kid might say, "No, I don't want to," or, and they go, and the parent does it anyway. And I feel like that, Like, I understand the sentiment behind it, because typically you as the parent like, you're feeling rejected. You're feeling like, or you know, like, oh, it's my child. I made that body. Let me touch it. Really respecting your child's decision whether or not to say yes or no.
Exactly. And then that teaches them too that they have a voice and that their voice matters. And that when my kid says to me no, about something like that, around bodily touching or personal space or privacy, I'm going to respect that. And then now they feel more empowered to use their voice, to say no in other situations as well. Yeah. That's what I want to do with my kids. And that's what the research shows too, is that we want to empower youth to have that voice so that they can say no or yes when they want to, on their terms. Yeah. I think it's also important too at doctor's offices, dentist offices, anytime where there is a professional that has to touch your body or your child's body, that they're explaining what they're doing. They're saying, okay, I'm going to now separate this tissue here to look, or I'm going to check, bend over. Here's what I'm going to do. Yeah. I understand that sometimes doctors need to do those things, even if a kid is saying no. I just think it's important that they're talking it through and explaining why, and offering them some semblance of autonomy and agency in that decision.
Yeah. Okay, it's me, Jess. I am in the editing space right now, and I had a thought after listening to this that I wish that we had talked about. I was just thinking about how important this is, especially when we're talking about medical professionals, that we need to educate our kids that it's okay to say no to them too. If something doesn't feel right, or if there's not another person in that room and a medical professional is touching you on your genitals or close to your genitals and it does not feel comfortable, you have a right to say, stop, no. There have been so many scandals that include medical professionals using their power to coerce young women and young men into acts that they did not consent to. This medical gaslighting is a whole different topic. I want to get back on track. And here enters the story about my Halloween costume this year. I created an illusion costume. I'll drop a picture in the description and on my Instagram page. I was a contortion artist on a table. So I made fake legs and feet and hooked them onto my body so that it looked like I was able to take my feet and put them up to my ears. I cannot tell you how many people came up to me and started touching the legs on my costume. And it was so weird because I got such an ick from it. Like, do not touch me. I don't care if this is part of my costume or my actual body. Do not touch me without asking me. Right. It was the weirdest feeling because they weren't my real legs. But
that's wild.
It's wild, right?
Yes.
Like, and it was so wild to see who did the touching. And one woman came up to me and she was like, wow. And she like grabbed the foot, and I looked at her and I said, we were talking about, she's like, this is so cool. How'd you make this? And I said, out of yoga mats or whatever that I made it out of. And then I said something to her like, it's really weird that I made these legs and I never thought of this, but like when people touch it, it makes me feel really like skeeved out, like icked out because I'm not giving you consent to touch my legs. And she looked at me and she's like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I'm so sorry. But I had a different reaction with somebody else. Like there was an older gentleman and I said, oh, that feels really weird that you're touching me. And he was like, yeah. And he like started rubbing them more.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I just think about that, like in terms of consent. Consent is like, can I give you a hug? Right. It's like, can I fix your hair? Can I like, hey, you have a hair. Is it okay if I like move that hair out of your face?
Right. Yes.
Right?
That is consent as well.
Yeah.
Right. And I definitely understand that, like, when you start to develop more of a relationship with somebody, for example, you and I, right?
Yeah.
If you had a hair sticking out or something, I might reach over and grab
Yeah.
it. We're good friends. But in the case of this strange man person who just comes up and starts rubbing your leg, even though it's fake, and the fact that you said that and then he continued to rub it more.
Yeah.
And I think too, right, I can offer some grace to like flirtation. Like perhaps this person was attempting to be flirtatious by rubbing your prosthetic leg thing, your fake leg.
Yeah.
And so, I can appreciate a little bit of that. I can flex there, some grace. But yeah, so consent is really important, and it has a lot of different levels as well. It starts at a younger age, right? You start teaching about consent at a young age.
Megan and I had so much to talk about that we didn't actually get into the nitty-gritty. I realize this is a lot of information for a podcast, so I'm going to drop some links in the description so that you can go and get your own information from trusted sources.
I'll also add on around sex and sexual activity and consent there, and how it's like a stepwise process, right? I think too, kind of going back to something you had said, Jess, about historically, like just generationally, right? I think that a lot of the time sex was talked about as primarily a reproductive function and not as pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
And now that when we have sex positive approaches, we can talk about how sex is also pleasurable. And therefore we really need consent, right? Does this feel good? Yes or no? What about this?
Right.
How about here? Faster or slower? Right? And then in that way, the whole sexual experience too is more empowered and consent based.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So Megan, as you were talking, I was just thinking that there were probably going to be a few parents out there who are going to think, heck no, I am not going to talk to my kid about consent or about sex, because there is a belief that it will lead to more sexual behavior, right? That if we talk about this, then my child is going to go out and have, sex or have multiple partners. And I want to really protect them from that. And I want them to be respectful of their bodies and to respect that process, because let's be honest, when two people get involved sexually, physically, if you're not emotionally prepared for whatever the outcomes are, right? Like whether that's pregnancy, STIs, and also the emotional attachment that goes along with it,
sex positive parenting includes teaching about abstinence as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not absent of abstinence. That's a part of it too. This
Right.
is an option. An option is that you choose to not do it. And actually, here are the biological reasons why it might not make sense for you to be trying to have intercourse at age 11.
Yes.
Right? Or why focusing on other things in your life is actually more beneficial than trying to have your boyfriend, whatever.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is a part of it too. It's a more like comprehensive approach, and it talks about, how to have that agency, feel empowered in your decision making. And, we talk about it from the aspect of sex, but it generalizes over to other things as well. Then that kid who has that voice, who can say no very firmly and know what feels right and what feels wrong to them, can do that across other settings too, not just in a sexual atmosphere, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was also thinking, like, you're also not saying to them, you must not have sex or else, right? And you're not saying to them, go out and do it and see what it's like. Like, I'm not encouraging you. I think that what makes sense to me, right, is to even share with your kids the pros and cons.
Right.
Okay. Before we go any further, I want to name something up front. Sometimes conversations about sex education, safety, and consent can sound heteronormative, as if we're only talking about boys and girls or male-female relationships. And that's not what we're doing here. Pleasure, safety, consent, body autonomy, and communication apply to everyone. Straight, queer, questioning, transgender, non-binary, kids who haven't figured any of it out yet, and kids who might never use traditional labels at all. Young people are navigating relationships in all kinds of configurations, both in person and online. Our focus today is not gender roles, it's respect, consent, safety, and knowledge. Because every child deserves accurate information and support, regardless of who they are, who they're attracted to, or who they may become. Okay, let's get back into it. You know, Meagan, what I thought was really interesting was that there were very few participants that you surveyed who said that they opted out of sex education, which means that either kids disobeyed their parents or there were very few parents who were not okay with that. And, you know, we know historically there are groups of people who say like no sex ed in the schools, and we need to teach that outside of schools. And so there might be some parents listening now and going, no way, no school is going to teach my kid how to do that because it's going to make them more sexually promiscuous.
And we learn biology at school. We learn anatomy at school. So let's learn this anatomy as well.
Yeah.
We learn, we teach kids about all the parts of a plant cell. So let's teach them about the functioning of the human reproductive system as well.
Yeah.
Also, teaching somebody about sex is not the research does not demonstrate that actually increases their likelihood of engaging in it.
What's interesting is that internationally, sex education has a high impact on the reduction of number of partners that kids have, the number of unwanted pregnancies, and there is a decrease in the number of STIs. I think all but one study showed it in a review of maybe 21 or 22 studies.
And they are they're doing it, whether or not you are teaching them about it.
Right.
They're going to, when they feel ready and they want to and interested, they're going to try and they're going to explore. And I know that I want my kid to be able to talk to me about it.
Yeah.
And I want my kid to ask me about those types of things. And that's what sex positive parenting does. It's not the misconception, I believe, would be that we're like encouraging youth to do it. No, that's not the case. I'm empowering my children to know, to have knowledge and to have a voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I want to switch gears here. Meagan, I want to talk about something that is very real for parents. And honestly, it has become incredibly common. I know I see this in my work, especially in middle school kids. Parents are finding out that their children have been sexting, sending nudes, or posting sexual content online. And I want to know from you, how do you think they should respond? What guidance would you tell a parent? And what's the most effective way to approach that conversation without shaming them or panicking? Because it would be really easy to do, to get really panicked or to start, telling them that they're wrong for doing something. So how do we do that while also still holding boundaries and keeping them safe? And maybe even more importantly, how do parents begin to understand why kids are doing this in the first place? Because I think that can be really scary.
That is an amazing question. And yes, and I know we're both psychologists and work with youth often, and I see this all the time. And I have a belief that if we are providing more of this education for youth at younger ages, that we would be able to prevent the onset of some of those things, or buffer against how maybe intense or how escalated that type of behavior might come. Sexting is a very popular thing right now. Sending nudes, right? Like this is something that people are doing a lot. not just youth, adults as well, right? And it is developmentally appropriate for kids to be lying to their parents or like trying to withhold some of their privacy from their parents. Absolutely. However, I think really where I guess I would talk about this from a couple of different angles. First off, social media is I believe that there needs to be some more restrictions around the access to that. There's a lot of research that shows that offering smartphones and access to social media at a younger age is damaging in many, many ways. And so I do think that I would not have my 5th grader on TikTok. I would not have my 6th grader on Snapchat. Just get rid of Snapchat.
Let's 86 Snapchat.
Yes, 86 Snapchat. Cancel.
Yeah, cancel it.
And also, so I would talk about that, right? Like, does your kid even demonstrate the kind of prerequisite skills to be able to effectively handle a smartphone and social media?
Yeah.
That part.
Well, I'm sorry to interject.
No,
I was just thinking too that, I think a lot of parents, they know these things, right? Like, yeah, we're not going to give our kids Snapchat and Instagram and, whatever, TikTok.
Yeah.
But the kids do this behind their parents' backs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's going to happen too, right? So they might be doing it behind their back, or they find some type of way to access it, right? So then I guess the next thing I would go to is safety. And maybe even kind of talk about some laws and what some of the consequences of that would be, if you were caught. So I have
And they're
heard,
big.
They are big.
Yeah.
Yes. And it can vary by the state that you're in, your local laws. It can vary by whether you're on school property or not on school property, how old you are. It's just not worth it to, in my belief, to be engaging in some of these behaviors at that young age.
It is a federal offense in North Carolina, I believe.
The age of 18 is child pornography.
Yes.
And then in North Carolina, you can get tried as an adult at age 16. So if you're a 16-year-old and you are sending nudes back and forth with your partner, with your romantic interest, whatever, you can be tried as an adult as a distributor of child pornography at age 16. Not worth it.
Right. And if you're a parent and you're like, give me your phone or send me a screenshot of what you did, don't do that. Then now you're distributing child pornography.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think too, some of these things are dangerous in terms of like blackmail, right? Youth are vindictive and vengeful sometimes, right? Like,
well, their prefrontal cortex isn't developed yet.
Right.
They don't actually
They're
have
impulsive.
The ability.
They're impulsive, and that's where they're at. That's okay.
Yeah.
And so, you have an ugly breakup with whoever, and then you're going to shame them and send that provocative picture that, and put that all over the school or
But
whatever.
Dr. Meagan, we're never going to break up. We love each other.
And that's my third point.
Okay,
right?
thanks.
So
Go ahead.
First one so that's my third point, is this, that I believe that youth are inappropriately using sex as a way to bond and attach with people.
Oh, gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think another part of sex positive parenting and having this type of approach is that we are teaching them that there are other ways to connect and bond with friends, with the opposite sex or whatever, whoever is your sexual interest, your sexual orientation, is that you are learning that there are other ways to also have intimacy beyond just sex.
Can you say it again?
There are other ways to have intimacy beyond just sex. So, the kid that is pretending to have a positive pregnancy test and sending it to their boyfriend or something, that is a kid that is trying so deeply to connect with their boyfriend.
Yeah.
Or that girl, that person that's going to send that cleavage shot to the other person is trying to connect, trying to gain some type of value of themselves, I would imagine.
Worth.
Yeah, some worth. And so we, a part of this as well as this comprehensive approach is to provide other ways for them to have that worth and other ways for them to connect with friends and romantic interests that don't always involve sex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because the hormones are raging.
They are raging. They are raging.
And so what would you say to the parent who comes to you, let's say a parent of a 12-year-old, and they say, oh my gosh, I just found out, my daughter has been sexting or their boyfriend. And when we asked her why, so sexting and deleting messages.
Okay.
Right? Because that's what kids do. If you're,
they are tech savvy.
They're very tech savvy.
Yes.
I mean, I'm telling you, I cannot tell you how many people have come to me with this exact issue.
Same.
Yeah, you too. Okay. Right. What do we tell parents? How do we guide parents in terms of helping kids understand that their behavior is not shameful?
Yes. So I love the use of validation here, right? I'm going to kind of role play. I'm going to pretend you're a 12-year-old girl here, Jess, right? So, Jess, I found something on your phone that I'm feeling really concerned about. Hun, I know you've been sending some photos to your boyfriend. I can totally understand why you would want to do that. It makes sense that, with hormones raging and all of that stuff, that you really want to deeply connect with him. I get that, hun. And this is not the most effective way to do that. I'm really worried about what kinds of outcomes could happen from this. Can we work together and figure out a different way for you to connect with your boyfriend, please?
I love that, Megan. I mean, if I was your kid, I would probably be like,
maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Or I may be really embarrassed still. Or maybe I still would deny it. No, I didn't do that.
And I think that kid would maybe be more likely to still come back to me and talk to me, though.
Yeah.
Right? Versus if I came at you like, Jess, I found this thing on your phone. I can't believe you've been doing this. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, then you're not going to come back to me to talk to me about that heartbreak, or in 4 years from now, whenever you do have your first actual physical sexual encounter, you're not going to come and talk to me about that.
Right.
I would predict.
Right.
And so, maybe 11-year-old Jess continues to lie or dig her heels in or deny it. However, I think that I have set something up. I've set the stage here in our mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah.
That I would imagine that you were going to come to me more often because I'm going to validate you. You know that I understand you, even though I don't approve of this behavior, and I'm going to set limits around this behavior.
Yeah.
I still want you to talk to me.
How are you going to set limits around the behavior?
I mean, in this hypothetical, you're 11 years old.
12, yeah.
12, 11, yeah.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Yes, I mean, I kind of go back to the talking about safety, talking about the laws, and talking about and restricting the access to the phone. Technology access is...
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a natural consequence, right?
A natural consequence, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
If I catch my kid doing the sexting things on their cell phone, well, cell phone is going to be restricted. If they're doing it on Discord, we're taking away Discord, right? And so that, I also think too, to each their own to an extent here, right? But what are we talking about? What exactly were you doing, 12-year-old Jess?
Yeah.
Right? Were you just saying I love when you snuggle me, hee 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 hee? Okay. I think we can be a little more graceful there, right? We can have a little more flexibility.
Let's say I'm talking about more, sexually explicit things.
I mean, I would, it's so case dependent too.
I know.
What is the current status of the relationship between the parent and child, and how much shame is already kind of bubbling up in there?
Well, I'm just saying, this is the first time you find out.
Okay. Well, I think that if there was something explicit in there, I'd maybe want to learn where you learned that and try to help you to correct any misunderstandings and make sure that you're not internalizing any myths or anything that's harmful.
Yeah.
Also, if there's anything dangerous in the sexting or in the images or anything that I observe on my kid's phone, I'm going to address that pretty directly.
Yeah.
Right. So I would want to kind of like check those things out. Are you joking? What were you intending when you did this, when you said this?
Yeah. Cause I think about like as a kid, when I was younger, how I just wanted to be cool and fit in.
Right.
So.
And how embarrassing is that to admit to your parent too, right?
Yeah, sure. Sure. I mean.
And it's so normal.
It's so normal. Yeah. All of it is normal. I mean, what isn't normal? Let's talk about what's not normal. What wouldn't be, and I hate the word normal. You do too. I know you do.
Yeah.
What's typical and what's not? When do we have to be really concerned about our kids?
That's a really good question. I would say that when you would want to increase your concern is when it seems like interest in sex or sexual things, pornography, things like that is taking up so much of their time that other things that should be prioritized at that time in life are like kind of falling through the cracks, right? Like now my kid not literally, but in an example, a child is no longer joining the family at family dinner, right? Or the child is no longer hanging out with their siblings. Their relationship with their family is falling apart because they're locked in their room watching pornography or something. First boyfriend, first romantic interest, and then you divert all of your time and energy to your new boyfriend or your new girlfriend, and all of your other friendships get left behind.
Right.
Not that that's like atypical, that is a typical thing, but those are the things that we want to be looking for, right? There is such thing as pornography addiction.
Yes.
There are some really scary things on the internet.
Yes,
too.
there are.
So I would want to be implementing like preventative measures as well here, right? Installing some like safe search software on computers, making sure that they're not accessing these types of websites. Actually, Pornhub, like several different websites for pornography have been changed to like subscription types of things and made illegal in certain states. So there are some more like systemic level things that are changing to make it harder to access pornography. But as we joked earlier, or like literally youth they're so good at technology. They're better than us at it. And so I mean, they're probably figuring out how to access it. Yeah. So I would do these preventative measures in advance. I also would have, I would keep a lookout for like functioning, right? What aspects of life are being left behind? Are they no longer interested in soccer? Are they kind of locking themselves up in their room? Yeah.
I was thinking about that too. The locking themselves in their room, just not engaging in like typical daily behaviors like they normally would, or daily activities, not behaviors.
And I think too, there's some atypical or concerning, perhaps like ineffective behaviors, like where if somebody, for example, is not respecting like privacy of like where are you masturbating? Are you like masturbating in public on the bus, like no, we're not doing that. And so kind of if you're seeing that your child is doing some of those things, we're wanting to have conversations about that. I would say too that it is not typical and not expected for youth to be having a variety of sexual partners. It's just not in a shameful way, but it's risky. It's
very risky. On all the levels we talked about before, right? The emotional, the physical, and I mean, maybe the spiritual too.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow. We have talked about so many really interesting things tonight, and I am so grateful for you coming over and, and having your kids here downstairs with, I don't know, they're just, it's fun. I love this. I love that we're here doing this. When I first proposed doing the podcast, Megan invited me to her house. She's like, "Oh, do you want to come over? I've got the ferrets and the kids." And I was like, "I don't know if we'll be able to be uninterrupted with the ferrets, the kids, and the dog, all of them." So
too many creatures in one house.
Yeah.
For podcast recording.
Yeah. But this has worked out really nicely. And I feel, well, I know we'll have a lot more to talk about in the future. So thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you for having me. I love talking about this, and I don't think we didn't even get all the way into the weeds, like all the way in, right?
Yeah.
We kind of even just scratched the surface.
We totally did.
I think we could even come back and talk more about this.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm about to shit on myself. That's should on myself. That thing we told you not to do in an earlier podcast. I probably should have put this information in the beginning. And here we are. Megan has a BA from UNC Charlotte in psychology and in Spanish. So she has 2 bachelors. She got her master's in psychology also at UNC Charlotte and a certificate in quantitative analysis and cognitive science. And then she went on to get her PhD in school psychology at UNC Chapel Hill. We talked a little bit about that program in the very first episode, so if you'd like to hear more about that, I encourage you to go back. And she completed her postdoc at 3C Family Services. Okay, Megan, can you tell folks a little bit about where to find you and about your specialties? Because I think they're pretty unique.
Yes. I am a licensed psychologist at 3C Family Services here in the Raleigh area. Our office is in Morrisville. I have quite a few different kind of specializations in my training. So I do a lot of work with sexuality and gender identity and sexual orientation. So kind of that whole big bucket there. And I can do that work with youth or with parents, support parents. I also have some expertise in body image intervention and supporting and preventing the onset of eating disorders. And my most intensive training is in DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. And so I also am on the DBT team at 3C, and I teach both of the groups, the middle school and high school group.
Yeah, I really enjoy when Megan teaches. We used to teach together, which was so much fun. The other thing I think you left out was you are a whiz. Like, I think just a total miracle worker when it comes to working with the neurospicy kids who, especially boys.
Oh my gosh, yes. I take a very neurodiversity affirming approach. I'm neurodiverse myself. I love working with youth with neurodiversity. That's definitely a specialty of mine.
It's your superpower.
I'm really good at it. I judge.
I'm
really good at it. I work really well too with like young boys. I've seemed to be really kind of taking off with neurodivergent young boys. And so. And I'll add this caveat too. I will not be talking about these things with my clients unless it is indicated or unless a parent is asking me to.
Yeah.
Right. So, don't have to be afraid that you're going to go see Dr. Meagan and she's going to be like handing out condoms to your kid. I'm not going to be doing that.
Yeah. Gosh, no. I mean, that would be super unethical anyway, right?
Yes, it would be unethical.
Yeah. So I just want to say this. When Megan and her kids came over, I actually asked her son if he would like to be on the podcast. I said, "Hey, what do you think?" And of course, I asked Megan first. And he said, "Oh, I don't know." I mean, he knew what we were going to talk about. And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "Okay." And I don't know is a no. And I totally respect that. I don't want you to feel pressure. And then later on, we took a break and he said to me, "I think I kind of want to do it." And we didn't have enough time. And maybe we can have him on another time if that's okay with you, Megan.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm okay with it. If he consents, then I approve. I think it would be really awesome to hear from his perspective, what it's been like to have a parent that is so open and talks about things like this with him.
Yeah. Oh, Meagan.
Yeah, it was so nice being on this podcast with you, Jess.
Yeah. You're going to come back. You're coming back.
I'm coming back. I'm so excited to come back.
Yes.
I'm ready to talk about all the things.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
It was late. We were both really tired. Some episodes I'll wrap up nice and neatly, and this one, I think it wrapped itself up on its own. You know where to find Dr. Meagan Padro at 3C Family Services, and you can find me, Dr. Jess Hayden, at Simply Centered Psychological Services in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm part of SciPact, and I can do therapy in 40 states. If you'd like to work with me, you can head on over to my website. It's in the description, www.simply-centered.com. I've also dropped a whole bunch of links in the description, information about how to teach your kids about consent. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at Dr. Jess Hayden. And I just want to thank you for being here. Until next time, take care. Simply Heard, the space between is meant for educational and information purposes only and should not be used as a replacement for therapy. If you or a loved one are experiencing a mental health crisis, please dial 988 for the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline.